Hello again, Cyberworld. I've done the first two from my list, and today I'm going to do number 3, which is cultural differences and social norms. Hang on a minute. Which class is this class? It's so tight. Stick on my head. So, right. Moving to Italy from the UK means stepping into a world where daily life, social interactions, and even business dealings operate on a completely different rhythm. While Italy's vibrant culture is one of its biggest charms, adjusting to a more relaxed and more chaotic lifestyle can take time. I'd say from a first point, myself, when I first moved here to Italy, it was an adventure that I was really quite looking forward to be honest, because as I've mentioned before, I basically was forced to move here after Brexit, because of Brexit, basically, because my girlfriend being Italian, and just to see the change of how everything happened in the UK, the change of just people becoming nastier and xenophobic towards anyone who just wasn't English. I remember seeing people getting abused on trains because they were speaking French or speaking Spanish, just general European languages. It pissed me off and it upset me quite a bit. So I just wanted to get out of the country. I was quite happy when my girlfriend said she didn't want to renew our rent and she just wanted to come back to Italy, where she owned this apartment where we live now, which is all paid off, and it didn't make sense to her to be staying in the UK somewhere that wasn't really making her feel happy. And at the same time, was it really making me happy, seeing just the change of everyone and just how nasty everyone becomes. I was quite happy really to be getting out of the country. I think even on my Facebook, I refer to myself as a dissident, a political dissident. I was very disillusioned with everything in the UK, from a bureaucracy, how it was annoying. All of the systems and everything that we had in the UK just used to piss me off, and I just used to hate it. And I hated things like a speeding ticket from a speed camera. I got us basically a speeding ticket from a speed camera going 33 miles per hour in a 30 zone. That just drove me mental. The story behind that was, I lived in London, just outside Canary Wharf, across the river from Canary Wharf, in a place called Canada Water, Surrey Quays, Greenland Dock to be more precise. So every weekend I would get in my car and I would drive back for like 2 hours to my parents and spend the weekend at my parents with my daughter. And then I'd drive back on a Sunday evening and go back to work from Monday to Friday in London. So the story goes that while I was back in my hometown, dropped my daughter off, dropped her back. My ex-girlfriend works in a garden centre, so I dropped my daughter back to her mother at the garden centre. I was then driving back from there to my parents' house. In that space between the garden centre to my parents, I went for a speed camera. I wasn't aware of it at all. But what had happened is I'd moved to London 6 months before this had happened, and I'd completely forgotten and neglected to change all of my details for my car to my new London address. So this speeding ticket then went to my old flat that I lived at in my hometown. And because I lived in London, I was totally unaware of this, basically. So I'd moved to London. I think what happened is I had to redo my road tax, and get an MOT for the car, and then basically discovered that I hadn't changed my address. So then, having got the new road tax and had the MOT, it then had my new London address. At that point, obviously the DVLA then knew what my address was. The next thing I know, one day I come home from work and I have this letter on the floor saying that some debt collectors had come round, basically, and I wasn't there. So they said that they were going to be coming back at some stage. I was like, what the hell? It had a number. I phoned up these debt collectors and they said that I had a couple of £1,000 worth of a fine because I'd avoided paying this fine for the speeding ticket that I wasn't even aware of. My girlfriend ended up having to pay for it, because this is also part of the reason why I was just disillusioned and pissed off, because I was working like everyone else, Monday to Friday, getting my money at the end of each month. And the majority of all my money would just go out in taxes and all sorts, and I barely have any money left to live. So I was just like, well, how is it that I'm working so much, but I never have any money to even save or or do anything. So basically my girlfriend had to pay for this fine, this £2,000 or something fine. So that just pissed me off. So these sorts of things used to just annoy me, and I wanted to get out. So getting back onto the subject and just seeing how different people were. I didn't want to be one of those English people. I didn't want to be like the scum in my country that wasn't accepting of other people and other nationalities. And I'm quite a liberal, I suppose, centre-left type person. And basically I just wanted to, I didn't want to be like all of these scummy people that I would see in London that were just horrible, nasty people. So, I thought of myself of being a bit more, I suppose, cosmopolitan, if that's the right word. And I wanted to go to another country and not be like them. I wanted to come here to Italy, learn the language, and just be, one of the nice English people. Just wanted to be an English gentleman, basically. So I came here and reverted back into being one of those scummy types of people. I mean, cultural differences and social norms. People here, like for instance, they'd be having their dinner. Sometimes I have to wait to have my dinner until like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And I've always grown up as one of those people in England that I'd have my dinner around about anywhere between 5 and 7 o'clock in the evening. It would never really be beyond 7 o'clock. And a lot of the time I'd be having dinner about 5:30, 6 o'clock. So I just can't deal with the whole having to starve myself and wait until 10 o'clock some nights. And you literally have your dinner and then you go to bed. I've always been brought up that that's not really good for you. You have to let your food digest, and otherwise you get indigestion. You wake up in the middle of the night with stomach pain. And so, yeah, cultural differences. I really miss what I'm used to in the UK, sadly. As much as I try to change my way, there's just so many different things that I just can't get to grips with. It's hard for me. I mean, the thing that I'm looking directly at now is the chaotic lifestyle. We live above a couple of pizza places, and I mean, it's not one of the things that's actually in my top 10, but one of the things I might actually do an additional video to say other things, other gripes and other things that really irritate me. So the people here, even though we've got a whole load of car parking spaces outside with white lines, in England it's pretty rare that you would find someone that can't park between two white lines, right? Here, everyone's all parked at angles. They can't park straight in between white lines. Add to that, we've got these pizza places outside, and we've constantly got the Deliveroo motorbikes that come and park across people's cars. Not even motorbikes, you have cars themselves. So you'd have a row of cars that are all parked in, ski whiff, all in these white lines. But then you get some bellend that just comes and parks right across all of those cars. So someone would have gone in to go get their pizza, come back to their car and find someone that's parked right across the back of them, because a lot of the time people are just lazy. They can't be bothered. An English person would just go to the next street along, find somewhere to park, and then they'd probably just walk round to the pizza place. Here, they're just so lazy. They just have to do it right outside the pizza place, park right across all of the cars, and then you just get chaotic. Beep, beep. Like literally, people will just hold the horn down, beep, just like that for forever. And everyone would be looking out at the pizza places, and eventually some bellend would be like, oh, scusa, sorry. And they'll run out, and then they'll have a bit of an argument and a bit of a to-do. And then they'll get in his car and reverse back, let the person come out of the space. And instead of just parking in that space, it just let them leave his car parked across the people's car again. So likelihood is another couple of minutes, someone else would probably start beeping. And as I say, they don't tend to have their dinner until late o'clock. So you'll be laying there sometimes just sort of dozing off, starting to go to sleep, maybe about 10 o'clock. And then you just have all these beep. Summertime, it's even worse because everyone comes and stands outside the pizza place and they're all blah, 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 all talking over each other, going mental. Just sounds like everyone's having an argument. A lot of the time they probably are having arguments, and you get all the kids with their phones listening to music and just shouting and screaming and shouting and being bellends. So I kind of thought that when I came here I mean, it was a bit, that's ultimately what I say at the end of all of these videos, is that I was very, very naive basically when I moved here. I kind of just thought that it was going to be a lot more chilled and a lot more relaxed, but it is a city at the end of the day. Even though we're not dead central of Rome, it's still a city. So there's still a shit ton of people around that is just chaotic and just mad. Reading on from my list again, a more expressive and passionate communication style. All hands, everyone's just going gesticulating everywhere. In the UK, conversations tend to be more reserved, polite and indirect. In Italy, however, people are far more expressive, using hand gestures and facial expressions. They're like gorillas sometimes. That's literally a way they communicate. Facial expression, raised voices, especially in passionate discussions. What might seem like an argument to a British person is often just normal conversation between Italians. Italians also tend to be more direct than Brits, which take some getting used to. If an Italian doesn't agree with you, they're likely to say it outright, whereas in UK, we're more used to sugarcoating things. At first, the honesty might feel blunt, but over time, more expats appreciate the openness. I particularly don't. I mean, I always say to my girlfriend, if I want advice about something, I tend to ask someone for advice. Here, everyone just has to give you their advice. Whether or not you want it or not, everyone has to give you their advice. So social life and making friends. In the UK, socialising often revolves around a pub culture and casual chats, even with strangers. In Italy, friendships take longer to form, but once they do, they're deep and long-lasting. Not really found that particularly. Socialising here is very family-orientated. Yes, it is. I stress to my girlfriend, sometimes when we go out, I think it's going to be me and my girlfriend and my daughter, then her mum turns up, then her brother turns up, and it's just a family outing all the time. I can't really stand her mum, to be honest. She's a typical mother-in-law who's just a gobshite. People often spend weekends having long meals together rather than going to the pub for a quick drink. Another big difference is small talk. While Brits rely on topics like weather, Italians prefer more personal, meaningful conversations, which can be intimidating at first, but also refreshing. I don't really find it that refreshing. I find it quite intrusive. Different approach to time and punctuality. Jeez. So I was in a band with one of my neighbours, and we'd have to go to band practice, and he'd asked me to meet in the car park downstairs, and he'd say to me, meet in the car park at 6 o'clock. So me, being English, I'd be there 2 minutes to 6, maybe even 5 minutes to 6. Be looking at my watch, 5 minutes goes, 10 minutes goes, sometimes even 15 minutes goes. I'd be stood down there in a cold garage sometimes, waiting for this joker to turn up. And he wouldn't actually turn up sometimes until like 10 minutes, 15 minutes late. At no point would he actually say to me, oh, I'm sorry that I'm late or anything. It's just a natural thing. They just do not care at all. To me, as an English person, it's just bloody rude. You don't say to someone that you're going to meet them at some place and then turn up late. You say sorry to them, keep them there waiting. It's just bloody rude. Things like that really piss me off. Give a time, you stick to that time. Just stick to that time. It's just pretty simple. I don't understand why. It's not rocket science, as they say. So yeah, that's just an example. The time, they just don't care about other people at all. They're just quite rude people. Yeah, so what's it say? One of the biggest cultural shocks for Brits is Italy's relaxed approach to time. In the UK, being 5 minutes late is considered rude. Exactly. In Italy, being 15-30 minutes late is normal, and in some regions, even expected. Whether it's meeting with friends, going to appointments, or waiting for a plumber to arrive, you'll quickly learn that time in Italy is flexible. Yes, it is. I said this in one of my other videos about the bureaucracy. Sometimes if you've taken time off from work to go and get paperwork done, and you get there and they basically say to you, oh, I'll come back again tomorrow. And you're like, I've just taken time off from work to come here today, and you're telling me I've got to come back again tomorrow. For instance, if you've booked a plumber and you've had to take an hour or something off of work for the plumber, if he then turns up late and you've then got to go back to your boss and say, I'm so sorry, the plumber turned up late, can I have an extra half hour? It's just taking the piss. Absolutely taking the piss. Again, it's these sorts of things that really, really grate me. Business and work culture. If you're used to the UK's structured and efficient work environment, Italy's business culture can feel unpredictable. There's often a who you know mentality, and personal relationships play a big role in business deals. Things like long lunch breaks, informal meetings, and last minute schedule changes are all part of the norm. Many businesses, especially small family run shops, close for several hours in the afternoon, often from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. So if you're expecting a 9 to 5 work culture, you might be in for a surprise. Rules are more like suggestions. From traffic laws to queuing, Italians tend to have a more flexible attitude towards rules. If you're used to British order and structure, things like cars ignoring pedestrian crossings, people cutting in line, or business closing randomly can be frustrating. However, over time, many expats learn to embrace this go with the flow mentality. I've never have. I mean, that one there for me. In London, if we used to live above an off license, and if 8 o'clock in the evening, I kind of just think to myself, I could do with a beer, or I could do with some chocolate or some crisps. I could just walk down the stairs and I could just go straight into the off license and just go get it. It's sometimes 9, 10 o'clock at night. Here, you have to be savvy. You wouldn't be able to go out and just find an ordinary newsagents or something that's open after a certain time in the evening. If you haven't got it first thing in the morning or throughout your day, then you're buggered. Those sorts of things really, really piss me off. Even a petrol station. They've got petrol stations here. Some of them have got shops, but none of them are ever open. None of them. Ever. I'm just used to, in England, if I just need to go when I'm at my parents' house and want to get some crisps or a Dr. Pepper or something, I just jump in the car at like 10:30 at night, just drive to the 24-hour petrol station, just go and get it. But these sorts of things, if you're used to that sort of thing in England and kind of think that it's going to be the same everywhere else in the world, then you've got another thing coming. It's another thing you've got to take into account. If you're quite precious, I keep trying to reiterate and keep trying to say I didn't want to be one of those people that just gets pissed off and annoyed by all of these things. I just wanted to come here and kind of go with the flow. But in my naivety, I kind of thought that any of these types of places, Eastern Europeans, I mean, I can kind of understand maybe in Eastern Europe they might be a bit backwards, but I was at least thinking in France or Spain or Germany or in Italy, then they'd be kind of, in a way, kind of similar to how things are in England, but I was sadly very, very wrong. How to adapt to Italian culture. Embrace the passion. Don't be afraid to speak with your hands and join the animated conversations. Me, I just want to run away. Just want to go and bury my head underneath a rock somewhere. It makes my brain want to explode. Again, going back to the mental health thing, it's too much for my brain to deal with when so much is going on around me. Even when I'm at home and my girlfriend do the washing, I've got my daughter bouncing around going crazy, and I'm just like, I can just feel my head bubbling. I can feel everything just ready to explode. And a lot of the time I keep as calm and chilled as possible, but there has been times when I've just absolutely erupted and just gone absolutely apeshit at both of them. It's just too much. I just can't deal with it. I've always been a very chilled and relaxed person, a peaceful hippie person. All of this one here says peace, love and unity, and this one's a Buddhist mantra, which is what the Buddhas chant when in meditation. So yeah, I've basically just come to discover that I've just made the biggest mistake in coming here, really. Before coming here, it's a very nice holiday destination, don't get me wrong. But to live here, if you're an English person that takes pride in how our culture is and how we are as English people, really check which country you are moving to and how that country functions first. Be patient with time, invest in friendships, be flexible with rules, enjoy the good life. Rules, as I say, Rules is a big one for me. Again, I want to do an extra point on the driving. In fact, I'm going to go on to that next. Again, myself, a personal experience of a thing that happened when I was in England. So I was sat once in a traffic jam and I literally picked up my phone just to look at the time, because the clock in my car, I hadn't realised, but the clocks had changed, and I looked at the clock and thought, that can't be the time. Picked up my phone, looked at the clock on my phone, and I put it down. Literally at that moment when I've done that, and I'm stationary in a traffic jam, police motorbike man just turned up next to me, pulled me over to give me a fine or a ticket for using my mobile phone when I was driving. I then had to go on some special course just so I didn't have to get a fine, and that really pissed me off at the time. But then I moved here to Italy and literally everyone is just driving around looking at their phones. Sometimes I've literally seen people driving along filming themselves and doing video calls with people on their phones while they're driving, smoking a cigar, smoking a cigarette. That's just the police sometimes as well. Not even joking. So yeah, rules. If you fear that someone's just going to run your child over, make sure that people actually follow driving rules in whatever country you move to.